Howdy guys, welcome back to Scott's Speed Shop. Jet Scott here as always, and today we are working on a very special project, a project of mine that I've had for years, and finally have the willpower to assemble it because I've always stated to my friends and colleagues and to you guys that whenever I assemble this engine, it will be done right, and I will have that urge to assemble it. Ooh, W2 headers, ooh. Yes, but we're not working on that because that's still at the machine shop. No, this engine was worked on by my machine shop, which is Advanced Engine Machine in Salina, Kansas. Excellent shop. You need work done, send it there. But let's show you the engine. So the engine is my 426 cubic inch Pro Stock Hemi. Now we call it the Pro Stock Hemi because it has Pro Stock era mods done to it from 1970, 71, 72, 73, that era. This engine has a stock Hemi crankshaft, but it has been offset ground to big block Chevy rod journals, making it 39250 stroker crank, and it's also stamped on it. Chrome plated rod journals, BME aluminum big block Chevy rods, Ross Racing Hemi pistons, and this block is 20 or 30 over, I don't freaking remember. It's got 30 thousandths oversized lifter bores, and as you look, they actually move the lifter bores a little bit. These are the lifters for this engine, and what makes these lifters super cool, and we discovered this on a live we did when we kind of put this thing halfway together, is the springs actually keep the lifters off the cam, and when the push rods are in and the rockers are adjusted, pushes them down on the cam. So this cam is a solid roller by, I think, Lunati, and supposedly the specs on it were 816 774 valve lift. Yes, 774 816 is what I said. 292 300 degrees of split duration at 50 thousandths. Massive monster cam. However, as you can see, the engine's apart. The Summers Brothers gear drive is on there. The degree wheel is on there. That is totally not a rebadged Summit degree wheel. Also, they machine the sides of the block to shave about 40 pounds of weight off of it. And yes, this is a real thing racers used to do because there's only so much weight you can take out of a car before it's no longer safe. So, take the weight out of the block. Yeah, there's a reason why this engine will never go into a car. Also, it's a great education piece to show that off. Once it's in a car, you can't see that. And it's a Pro Stock engine, and you can't put it in a dragster. It wouldn't be right for it because it runs a magnesium dual quad YN tunnel ram. Yes, magnesium with twin Gen 1 dominators. A Dick Landy style distributor drive, twin distributors, both fully functional. Well, this one we got a machine still, but this will be fully functional. A Fisher harmonic dampener, and this is all original stuff. This is original to the engine. So the heads I have for it and the distributor and the intake were not on it when I got the block. I got the block first, then I got the rotating assembly, and then I got the cam and lifters, and that all belongs to this. But the gear drive I added at Summers Brothers, that's not one of those cheap Peter Jackson or whatever crappy ones. It's got 433 Bob Mullen dual plug Hemi heads. Those are period correct for the era. This is identical to what Dick Landy used to make, so we're putting this on there. This is original to the engine. I wanted to put a Hemi tunnel ram on it, and I had an aluminum YN unit, and then this magnesium unit fell in my lap. I hunted and got the two Gen 1 4575 1050 dominators for it. Won't be long before we will hear this thing cackle to life with zoomies, jet boat headers, and regular undercar chassis headers. So what do you say? Let's get to work. Alright, so the first things you're going to definitely need for degreeing a cam is you will need a cam degreeing kit, which you basically need a degree wheel. You're going to need some way to have a marker, so coat hanger, TIG welding rod, something like that. Bend it over. Dial indicator with a magnetic base comes real in handy, especially for finding true TDC on the piston. And when you got a Hemi, you know, it sticks out quite a bit. And another thing I actually found very useful is this Jegs push rod kit. So I had them send me this because, well, being able to check the length of push rods is extremely handy. And when these little guys cost about $20 a piece from just about anywhere, I've got some Smith Brothers and all sorts of stuff, just random ones. This kit's pretty comprehensive. It's about, I think, 90 bucks, and you get all the different little cups. You get 5/16 cups, 3/8 cups, plus the ball-to-ball end, and you get all of these different lengths. So there's 4 there, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 there. So you buy this versus just buying them individually from Jegs, Summit, whoever your preference is, or straight from Smith Brothers or any of them other companies. This is a great value. And what I found with this is super handy because they're aluminum. The magnetic base won't stick to them. They fit in my lifters. Dial indicator goes right in that hole for the cup, and right there, the oiling hole, and makes it perfect. And I highly recommend this little kit. I've always wanted one of these, and they sent it to me, and that's freaking cool. So go check that out. That's part number 80670. Well worth the 90 bucks right there, especially if you're going to get into building engines. This is a must. I don't know if you'll ever use this little guy, but you will definitely be using this selection for sure. And when you have an engine like a 426 Hemi, not many of you are going to build one, but you have 2 different length push rods because your intake is different than your exhaust. So extremely handy to have that kit. Extremely handy. Alrighty, so before we button this thing up, we ain't done a lot of filming on the old Pro Stock, just haven't really felt like it. So the Summers Brothers gear drive is on. And thank you, Crowler, for taking 2 weeks to get us the cam button that we don't need. And for making it out of plastic instead of aluminum or anything else. But it won't work with the bolts, and it also doesn't even work. So this Summers Brothers gear drive is actually pretty neat. It's got this brass or bronze screw here, and that actually runs in this channel. And that's actually what you set your cam with, your fore and aft travel, which of course the damn cover ain't bolted on, so it's not gonna function like it should. But we got that set right at 5/1000ths of an inch like my machinist wanted, so we're all good to go. Alrighty guys and gals, so we're doing a little bit of testing here, testing our push rod length, and apparently those push rods that came with this engine are a little too long. But maybe by the time I put an actual head gasket, because there's nothing here, I just bolted the head down to the deck surface with just the rocker studs. No other studs here. It's probably wrong. I don't care. It's gonna definitely show me if I got clearance or not for the valves. So you'll notice that there's only one push rod, one of the checker push rods in, and that's for the exhaust valve. That exhaust is here. So thank you everyone on the internet who has lied, because it's intake exhaust, intake exhaust, intake exhaust, not exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake. So never trust what you read on the internet until you actually do it yourself, which is what we're doing here. So I'm not sure if I'm going to run the stage 5s in this engine, but I don't care. These are all 1:7 ratio rockers, so if anything's going to hit, it's going to hit with these. So what I was doing is I was rolling it over. I got valve lash at 18/1000ths on the exhaust, and I had it about 18/1000ths on the intake, and I was rolling it over, and once you get on the crest of the lobe, it's real tough to bind over, and I'm being real gentle, wanting to make sure we got clearance. And got on top of the exhaust, and that valve just was shut with those but got that guy closed down, went to go do the intake, and I heard something pop, and it scared me. I pooped a little bit. Yeah, that guy didn't have a good day. So we're gonna need another one of those. Doesn't help, but these things are all just a little bit too short, or they're too long for this engine. Of course, you had a standard, you know, wedge or small block Chevy or something, they'd be perfect. But when you're dealing with a Hemi, they're not perfect. So, oh well. But working out pretty good here. We know we at least got clearance on the exhaust side, not so much on the intake. At least not yet, we don't know. Alright, here we go. We have a 5/16 cup on this, which is wrong because it's a 3/8 adjuster on the intake side, because we've already broke that one. All the head studs are in, everything is tight. Wish us luck. Rolling up on the exhaust. Coming up. And clear. Here comes the intake, which broke last time. Oh, that's scary. Ooh. Oh. And we're clear. Well, now that we've got the valve to piston clearance nailed down, we know we're not going to run into things. We know we're all good. So now we get to pull all this beauty off, because this is not the permanent setup. I have different rocker shafts I'm going to run. These are old originals, and I've got some new old stock Mopar hard chrome ones, and I've got to assemble the other set of rockers. So we're going to pull this back up, pull the studs out, take the head off, and now what we're going to do is we have some Moroso ceramic block sealer and some isopropyl alcohol, under advisement of a good buddy named Billy and a couple other people. We are going to do some preventive maintenance, hopefully, and we're going to double seal off this plate. So behind this is basically the cylinders to the engine and some spots, and it's right where the water jackets are. So we have a gasket, we have silicone, we have really good silicone on the backside of that gasket. On the inside, what we're going to do is we're going to pull the head off. We'll be exposing the deck, and we're going to fill the water jackets with about an 1/8 inch film of ceramic block sealer, and that should seal off anything that may have led to water or may have it leak in the future. And so that's what we're going to do. But we first got to fill it with isopropyl alcohol and clean out any kind of oils or anything that could be inside of here, so it's spotless. And of course we got some packing tape we're going to use to seal the deck off, so we can lay it on its side. So this is going to take a couple of days, and we'll just show you a little bit as we go. And hopefully this video is a little bit cohesive for everybody, because I don't know what the heck this video is going to be like. So hope you're enjoying. Let's get to work. Alright, so just a little update for you. We're now on the passenger side of the block. You can see I even filled the head bolt holes. We're filled all the way to the top of the deck at an angle here. This side of the block, I just drained it, and she's pretty barren in there. So that ought to be as clean as it gets. Clean all them thread holes, just make sure so we know we get a good torque. We got to do a good cleaning one last time. But we're going to let that sit all day, so that way it does all the cleaning. And when the right stuff shows up, which we're going to be using a hard block instead of this, don't buy this. This is basically bars leak, it's junk. So we're going to have to use more of a regular block filler, hard block, to seal this thing off, just that way we don't have any leaks in the future. But we're only going to be filling to, you know, about that mark right there, just on that side of the block. So we're going to tape it off. I got some rubber expandable freeze plugs to plug that hole right there and that hole. We'll do one side at a time, basically at such and such angle, and that'll be good to go. So I'm going to cover this back up so none of these dang little fuzzies, the enemy, gets in my engine, and we're going to work on other stuff. So stay tuned. All right, so here's the moment. This is either going to ruin this block and basically destroy this entire plan, or it's going to work really good. We have our block filler, which is basically just freaking grout. I mixed it up. It's kind of a soupier consistency. I didn't want to mix it in the big jug. I don't really know what it's supposed to be, but it says the more water you want, the longer it sets. The less water, the faster it sets. So I think I've got 1.5 cups of water in there. I've taped off my deck. The only holes that are open are the 2 big water jacket holes. Everything else is taped off really solid. And I use packing tape because that's what I use for my resin. This stuff, if you got it on there, there's no air pockets, it ain't gonna leak past. But the idea is just to get it to basically that point right there. So I'm gonna pour this, and wish me luck, guys. Here we go. Alrighty, so there it is. So what you're seeing here is there's a bolt right there, but we got a nice little sea of hard block in there. Let me just turn this on. There you go. Yeah, it'll slowly return back a little bit so it's not so high right there. But see our tape, our casting ends right there, so it's literally just a little bit higher than I wanted it, but I think it'll be fine. We'll just scooch some of this back. So here's a little progress update. This has just been about an hour. We'll kill our fan here. We'll get our pin light out. Okay, so where have we settled down at? Right at the hole. Let me get down in there. Yeah, we're doing pretty dang good. Now I got a little bit of a worry here. I don't know, I can't see in there good enough, but I'm a little bit nervous that maybe the block filler has formed a barrier right here on each of these walls. I'm worried that it may have sealed those off. That's going to keep the water from circulating, but we won't know until it's, well, it's already too late. Actually are. You look down in there, we might do a little bit of filling down in there just to help dampen the harmonics and whatnot, but that is to be seen. All right, we're going to let her sit, harden up, do the other side tomorrow. Alrighty, so we're 24 hours after, and it's getting hard. I can't move it around anymore. It's nice in there. You can see. Kind of hard to see in there, but she's setting up just where we wanted it. So now, got the other side of the block taped off. I'm going to mix up similar amount and get to pouring. So I'll check back in with you guys once all the filling is done. We can start working on other parts of the engine. Alrighty guys and gals, so I know I didn't film this, but I just figured I'd show you the aftermath. Water on the ground because there is tape along the water jackets here. They are full of water. As you can see, there's a little air bubble there. We're holding pressure. Well, there's no pressure to it, but I mean it held the alcohol that I've used to clean the block with. The spillage here is, well, just overflow. Yeah, it gets water all the way to the back. You can see it kind of flowing. It don't really make it back here too good, but that's because it's supposed to flow through the head through there. As you can see, there's water right there. But I'll pull my tape off, drain the block now, and we're gonna start actual assembly on this bad girl. Sweet. I wanted to make sure that it was actually gonna allow water to get where it needed to get to, and now I know it will. We can assemble. Let's rock and roll. Alrighty, so we're back on the Pro Stock Hemi, and we got her flipped upside down because I've been doing a lot of cleaning. So here is our crankshaft. Yeah, she's kind of scarred up, but had Mark check it out with the rods years ago. Well, about 2 years ago, and everything checked out really good. Rods are in good condition, so we're going to run those. These are BME aluminum rods, big block Chevy spec. Crank's been turned, big block Chevy rod journal size. It's been offset ground, so it's actually about 451, 452 inches. Chrome plated rod journals, and just look at that stroke. Freaking cool. So one thing I got to do before this engine can run is we are missing some pan bolts. As you can see along this side, we're missing 3 pan bolts. So I got the oil pan off. I got it really clean. Let's see, is it still clean? Yeah, it's still clean. I took the baffles out and stuff. So we're gonna lay this down on here, which I've already done this, but we're just gonna do it for proof of concept. Line up our holes. What's her name again? And we're missing this hole, and this hole, which I'll grab the marker. All right, we'll mark this on the actual engine so we can kind of see which ones they are. Why they removed them, I can't really tell you, but the idea is everything that gets bolted to this engine stays in this engine until I'm done with it, and it goes to the next home. So we're gonna weld these holes up. We're gonna make some plugs on the lathe, press them in here, weld them, and then we won't have that leak. And there are other options we could do, yes, to not ruin this oil pan, but I don't really care. I paid 300 bucks for that oil pan. It came with the screen and baffles and stuff. It's my oil pan, not worried about it. Alrighty, fellers and not fellers, so here's our little update. Oil pump, was gonna start rebuilding it. Found some major issues in the actual drilled and pinned rotor for that pump, so that pump is no good. Just the cast iron center here. I got everything to rebuild the outer piece there, the cover. And I got a new pump coming from Jegs. Rear main is in, smeared, good to go. And the oil pan is done. Ran out of argon and had some porosity issues. I didn't realize I was that low, so I had to go get a new bottle today. And yeah, so those are done. Water from the back side, and then put a little skim coat of the JB Weld, just to be double sure. So now we can put this bad girl back on the engine and we're going to be stalled out just for a little bit until that pump gets here, which should be here in a couple of days. So we'll check in back then. So before we go actually and wait on that oil pump, I just want to show you this oil pan gasket. Check this out. I have never seen one like this before. Look at how thick that guy is. It's got little bronze or aluminum spacers in there, little ferrules, so you can't crush the pan completely. Part number on this guy, for anybody who's interested, is 210591. I'm very impressed with this oil pan gas, especially for the price. Don't quote me, I can't tell you exactly how much it paid, because Jegs sent me this oil pan gasket. So, again, if you need something, go support Jegs. I'm going to get this oil pan on here, get this thing stretched out. Because of my gear drive here, we are spaced out, so I had to file out the oil pan, and hopefully I don't have to do it to this. Hopefully I can stretch this out so it'll make it to that. It's just that much thickness there. I got a clearance. So alright, we're gonna get that on there, get the oil pan on, and we'll call it a day. Alright guys, we're back. Don't mind my jaw. I had a wisdom tooth extracted today, and most folks would be sitting inside doing nothing. I'm out here working on the pro stock. That's what I do, and other things that I can't show you. You know, I have other hobbies that YouTube does not like. Some guys like Raker, they know. So it kind of hurts to talk, but I want to show you what we're doing, so right to it. Alright, so thanks to Jegs, our oil pump actually showed up really fast. Now, I did not want a billet oil pump, but I said screw it. I want a really good oil pump on this engine, so that's on there, all regasketed, all set up. Went ahead, put my intermediate shaft in. It's the extra long one because I have the dual line set up. It seems to be engaging. I'm not really sure how you can test that unless you got an oil pressure gauge, which we can probably hook something up and spin this thing up and see, you know, where we're at. Already fellers and not fellers, so it's extremely hot, and I don't know what I got, but I got some kind of mystery illness. Don't mind the headband. It's the only way to keep sweat out of my face. All right, so let me show you what we're doing. So I broke the tailstock on the lathe today. That's freaking awesome. But change of plans. Tom, we're not going to use your housing, but thank you for the inspiration. This, without Tom's help here, this wouldn't have been doable. So what we ended up doing is, let me just show you. So from yesterday, as you saw, here's our shaft that we've made. It's shortened up. Here's our socket we used yesterday. We actually turned this down so that way it would, you know, basically, so there's no bushing on this housing, which I didn't like the idea of steel running on aluminum. So I took the other distributor housing we had, and I did the same thing Tom did, and I machined that down where the O-ring would normally fit, and then I left the bushing, and don't mind that step there, that's where I started to mess up, a little too big, but then I machined the bushing out so that way it would meet up with the dimension of the socket. We don't want to go any thinner. Now this is steel, it's hardened steel, and that literally is a perfect fit, and this turns real easy once it's in there all the way. And of course now I'm one-handed, I can't get it to work there. So that turns real nice, and the aluminum and bronze will expand more than the steel will, so this is actually perfect. So this literally will be perfect because we still have a stub for the bushing here. That slots in there. Let me just show you. Trying to move this one-handed is not the easiest thing in the world. Locks in there, look at that, perfect. And then you give this just a little tickle on the adjuster clamp, done. This will slide in there, and that'll be a press fit into that shaft on that socket. And then we're going to drill right here and put a pin through it, and so it'll be press fitted, pinned, and we're actually going to use the pin from the distributor itself. We're going to shorten that guy up. So it'll be pinned and press fit together, and it's pretty much how the Ram Charge used to do it, and that'll give us a functional dual distributor drive. We'll just have to sandblast that, and then we'll reassemble it with the coil pickup and all the other crap. So there is the Pro Stock Hemi's dual distributor drive, and you'll see us finish that here soon. But I went ahead, so shout out to my buddy Jesse for letting me use his sandblaster last night. We blasted this other housing, and this is going to be the next thing we assemble, is the secondary distributor. But I wanted to show you this thing actually working. So I'm going to mark this socket, and we're going to spin it, and you can see both of those moving. Alright, so here's your clip. here is the black line. And there's it spinning both distributors. They're both going around and around and around and around. How smart I would have set that up so that way these would have been pointing at each other, but I didn't think about it. Alrighty guys and gals, so we are working on the dual distributor now, and we are working on a way to oil it, because in the actual Hillborn drive it's all sealed. So there's no way to get oil into there unless we remove the sealed bearing seals, which then oil vapor from the engine would get up in there and it'd be fine. But what we ended up doing was we took a junk distributor which has this little oil spigot, we flattened the end of it, and this is my spare housing that came from my friend Roseman that we're not going to end up using, so we're using it as a test mule. And we drilled a 1/4 inch hole, and this is basically, we're going to drill and pin the shaft to this adapter we made. And so this will allow us to run our pin through there and pin everything together, also with the press fit. But this is also going to go in here, and this will be glued in with sleeve retainer, and we're going to experiment with maybe going a little smaller hole so that way it's a nice press fit. And that will allow you to put a little drop of oil in there, and that should oil the bushing that's on our other housing. Only here at Scott's Speed Shop will you ever see something as wild as this. By the way, check out my seat. I redid that. It looks like crap. So here's our dual distributor drive. You've seen this 1,000 times. So here's our housing we're using. We got that hole drilled. That spigot fits in there really nice. Slips over. Look at that. I kind of wish we had just a little bit more poking through there. Doesn't matter. It's good enough. And now we'll take the distributor shaft that we shortened, and that slides through there. And I've already marked that hole right there. So we've actually got quite a bit to play with on the shaft. See that? It's kind of how I was hoping that adapter would be. So we're going to go ahead. This is going to be permanently secured together through the press here in a second. Ed's getting the press ready. We're going to press this on the distributor shaft that we're going to drill through there with the 1/8 inch bit, and then we're going to run a pin through there. And then that oil spigot's going to cover this hole. It'll be good to go. Here's another tool I made just for this, so we don't bend this shaft that we spent a lot of time straightening. I made this little collar. It's going to sit over there so we can press on this without pressing directly on that little weak shaft. So that's going to get chucked up in the press. Get our guy in the bottom. We'll be good to go here in a second. That's the stubbiest little distributor I've ever seen. That's all pressed together just like how we envisioned it. Everything lined up just how it's supposed to be. I kind of wish we had a little more socket poking through, but nothing we can do about that now.
Press fit.
Press fit. So this is actually functional as it is right now. Let's see, this should all plug directly in there. Dad, hold this. Yeah, there it goes. It plugged in. And so, look at that. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Okay. Don't believe me. Look at that. Some fat Kansas guy has recreated this with help of really smart people. Namely Dad. Look at that. Tell me that ain't the coolest thing you ever seen on YouTube. There ain't nobody on YouTube who will ever do anything as cool as recreating a Dick Landy dual distributor drive. It's freaking hot out here. Let's finish this. By the way, while we're here with this awkward intermission, I want to thank all of you who are watching this video. And look at that awesome 241 Hemi in the background. It's super cool. We'll be building that someday. But seriously, thank you for watching this. This engine means a lot to me, and it's awesome to be able to finally be finishing it. So thank you again, Brian from Dust Devil Garage and Tall John from Tall John's Fun Shop. When they were here picking up Bananarama, they gave me the inspiration to finally finish this engine. So let's go finish it. Well, guys, that is the end of part 1, and part 2 will be out here soon on the Pro Stock Hemi build as we continue the saga of getting to this point and getting it to run. And the sound is amazing. Please don't skip to part 3. Please watch through and endure the basically full hour-and-a-half video that took place over 3 months of my time, and actually, in all reality, 4 or 5 years worth of gathering skills and abilities. I really hope you enjoyed part 1, and I hope you enjoyed part 2 and part 3.